All systems go. Cleared for takeoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another review show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Nades with me, Tyler, as always, from LineStar. Every second week, we got him here. We're going to talk all things Week 8 so far. As we like to say, we'll talk about the perfect lineup. We'll talk about some winning lineups. Huge week at the Nation. Let you guys know right off the top, if you haven't got in there yet, today is the day to do so. But before we get into all that, I want to remind you guys quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by LineStar. Go to linestarapp.com. You can check it out. Use promo code SHIPIT to get 10% off. I'm going to let Tyler talk about that when he hops in here in a second, just so we can go through it. So, Tyler, I'll bring you in, our esteemed guest, my friend. How are you doing on this fine Monday morning? What's going on?
I'm good, man. It was another good Sunday, and happy to be talking about it here.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And lots of good stuff going on. Just when we get to it, we'll save it. But just the combination of everything you guys have going on, plus our stuff, we'll mix it all together. Before we do that, I will let everybody know very quickly, because we're going to talk about it throughout for sure. Today's a big day, huge day for the community. We just posted it out on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I might get to the bottom of that this week, by the way. I'm going to post a poll out. But just to note, today is the last day that you can use code NBA10. So if you want to get in, save 10%. It locks in any membership you choose. Today is the last day for NBA 10. So grab it. Go to shipitnation.com now. Use that. Nades, I'll bring you in, man. What's your thoughts so far on the week? How are you doing on this Monday morning?
Yeah, no, been an excellent Sunday. Didn't quite get all the way home, but still very profitable Sunday for myself. And, man, I know we're going to hit on it throughout the show here when we're reviewing. It's always nice on these review shows to be reviewing our community lineups. So great night, great day over here at the Nation. Great night for you last night, even parlaying your main slate there with another King of the Beach. Congratulations to you. I'm sure we'll get through all of that. But Week 8's not over. So if you haven't had the greatest Week 8 yet, number one, you're probably not a SHIPIT Nation subscriber, but even if you are, it's not over. We got Monday Night Football tonight, but overall ready to dive in and break down. It was an excellent week for the SHIPIT Nation community.
Yeah, love to see that. Love to see these guys. Tweezy always here first in. Doug said, the FanDuel ship, we'll get to that. I've got the lineup up here ready to go. Show you where I got it from too. And if you remember, you could have got it as well, because that's just digging into the content and finding it. But it's not who you play, it's how you play them. We talk about that all the time. Shout out to Mike, my guy Ham. He'll be a topic of discussion here. Sean, always grinding back here to join us. Lots of people in the chat. Lay the house. Rob got his third King of the Beach seat yesterday. Congrats to him. Ross, Beetlebane, my man Marley. He's in the King of the Beach too with us. It's the Q week. Tonight's the last shot. If you're trying to get into the King of the Beach, Kevlar, Joe is in the building. Justin, Tyler, all these guys are with us here. We appreciate you guys. This is, I believe, the tweet, right, Nate?
Yep.
So if you guys go here and click this, retweet it, quote tweet it, whatever. If you're a member, I just posted some details on it. We're going to be giving away a 333 Wildcat ticket. Check the NFL Discord channel or the announcements Discord channel and see what you see there. You'll be able to go get after it that way. Let's share our screen. Let's start this off with the perfect lineup. And Tyler, I'm going to let you take over here for a second. I'll let you see it. And then tell us a little bit more. I know we look at this perfect lineup tool every week. Some people just joining us for the first time. You guys got a lot more than just this going on, but this is a tool we love to use every single week as just a way to start our process to go and dig in and review and analyze what happened on the week so far.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I will add is just on this tool, if you go, we're always talking and harping on the left side, but if you go to the right-hand side, there's the summary of perfect lineups over the last 8 periods. You can click that and change the slate size. So you could go to, 10 plus teams, and then that'll kind of give you an idea of what past perfect lineups have been like. So that gives you a good idea to, maybe how to build your lineups depending on the different slate and whatnot. But at LineStar, we offer a ton of different stuff. We are doing your ownership projections, but
Yep.
We're fully encompassing DFS site. We have our projections, we have the optimizer. Then we also have the props AI tool, which is a new one for us and has been great for prop betting on Underdog, Prize Picks, all the different sports books, and gives you a nice edge in that department as well. So pretty happy to be on the show with you guys, and thanks for letting me share a little Line Star.
Yeah, we love the partnership. Obviously, like I said, helping us out with our ownership projections, huge for 4 of the major sports besides PGA and MMA. So we've got that there with you. It's a great complimentary piece. I know, Nades, you can talk a little bit about it too, but all the sports up here, like NBA's in the mix now too. But Nades, you're doing all the NHL stuff over at SHIPITNation.com, and you use this as well. So what's some of the NHL things that you use within this tool?
Yeah, I mean, I use Line Star religiously. And it's just amazing that we're a partner together. Just looking at that Skaters last 5 games right there, you can click any of those boxes down on the right underneath ceiling. So if you see shots per game, if you click that, it's going to sort all the Skaters last 5 games by their average shots per game. So you can get an idea of who's being active, things like that. That I obviously include all this stuff in our content over here at SHIPIT Nation. But for everyone out there that we're trying to build a process, right? That's part of the reason we get on here on a Monday morning, go through review, look at process. We're not just a picks and plays oriented site. And that's, we harp on that. And we're going to continue to harp on that. Is we're trying to create a better process for y'all to be better DFS players yourself and not be so heavily reliant on spoon-fed cores and things like that. We have those, but we also have tools and partnerships like Line Star to help you build a process, look at different stuff your way, because we all have our own visions on how games are going to go, how things are going to play out. And that's this tool helps a ton with that as well. So love this tool for their easily and the mobile app as well. So it's just absolutely amazing. But NFL show, we can jump back.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, Nades is over in the Discord posting this stuff last time, I should say. Tyler was on. He was mentioning some stuff, and then we just took some screenshots and screen shares from there, posted them in the Discord, and Nades was showing people how he uses the tools himself and then how you can use them and apply them. And I know our guy Vinny is a good guy, and he says he's not upset. I love this comment, though, Vinny. I appreciate it. You're always here grinding. You're always trying to get better. That's what we love to see. He said, congrats to all, but it's getting tough for me. I'm not upset, but it was a horrible week. Everyone has their bad weeks. I've had a bunch. I've had 7 bad weeks until yesterday. Right? I had some hits along the way, a few here and there, but those are just to keep your head above water. Those are nothing special. You need to have the one big week or something like that come through, and you never know when it's going to be. We're going to show some off quickly before we go to this, but just looking at it from yesterday, where was it here, man? There was just a bunch of them. I'm trying to find. So $200 into 9K profit was one from yesterday. Wally Boa won 5K. This was the one I was trying to find here. I'm just trying to see the order because our guy just put these in here and I don't see the rhyme or reason to them. Just give me 1 second. We'll show off a bunch. Right here, JB 1515. You can see on his account $60.50 in turns into 81,000. So it only takes 1 week. It's not going to be everybody, any site out there trying to tell you that you're going to win every week or, we got the winners, come join us, all these factors. Like, that's not what we say. We talk about process. We talk about everything that you can find your spot. And so the way it ends up happening is as long as you're following it, and on our site, we've got bankroll management, education, we've got contest selection, things that can help you so that you can be able to stay in the game, wait your turn, and get your spot. And you can see it. Go to our Twitter there. Nades posted it earlier. You can go check it out at SHIPIT Nation. Bunch of people found their spot yesterday. And I'm quite certain from the list I saw, besides maybe 1 or 2, a lot of these people were first-time winners on the season. You can go weeks without winning, but it only takes the 1 week to have these weeks return 200 into 9K, all this stuff. The education is included free with any membership, just so you guys know. So let's talk about this perfect lineup, Tyler. I'll kick it back to you. So I'm going to go to my winning lineup on FanDuel after this because people wanted to see it. They're asking on Twitter. They always think you're like hiding the lineup or something like, oh, you're marketing. You're not showing us what you played. It's exactly what we say. So that's fine. We'll show it off as we always do, like I always do. But Sam Howell was in that lineup. My guy Hamwich, who I mentioned earlier, was in the chat. I'm going to show you how we got to my lineup. But this perfect lineup scored 279.78. We had Howell, McCaffrey, Guzbus. We had Shaheed, Hopkins, who just had a massive day with a new quarterback, probably taking over now after this. They said he's going to start week 9. A.J. Brown, McBride, C.D. Lamb. McBride just allowed so much to work, and he just went off late. And then Broncos D using up most of the salary too. So give me your thoughts on this one, Tyler.
Yeah, that McBride late run was rough for my bankroll, but nonetheless, it got there. The perfect lineup is interesting. There's no stack as far as quarterback, wide receiver, pass catcher there, but those Sam Howell stacks did get there. It's just fact that Shaheed, was so cheap and had a huge game. DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Brown just went absolutely nuts, as well as CeeDee Lamb. So all in all, I mean, it's all good plays in the perfect lineup. It's just not one that you would actually make, just because, trying to select all the guys on their own is incredibly hard. It's, hitting a 9-leg parlay, and it just doesn't happen very often. If we add correlation in there, then it's a little more probable you can come up with something like that.
Yeah, one of the things this always shows me, Nades, just going to you here, is that we always see it. And I know this one doesn't make as much sense as what people would say. Like, obviously, it's just the best projected. This is the first week in a while that we've been doing these shows where it hasn't really lined up to being super close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was 237 to win the Millie, 280, basically, in the perfect lineup. But just the way you see it, like, if people were on Jalen Hurts, Howell, and A.J. Brown, at least kind of makes sense, right? You're getting a cheaper quarterback going up against the guy that's going to make this guy pop and using that money to spend elsewhere. But then you look at some of these things. McCaffrey, a lot of people playing Purdy, Kittle, or Ayuk. McCaffrey was harder to get to and expensive, but this was a way you could do it. A lot of people playing back to the well on Lamar Jackson. Leverage that up. Gus Edwards. A lot of people playing Kamara, who also had a pretty good day. Mind you, Taysom Hill snaked them a couple times, as he usually does. Shaheed. Hopkins is the one-off, and the reason you don't see this score being really close to what the score that won the Millie be really close to this, because it's just a complete outlier that not many people were trusting. McBride chalk made a lot of sense at 2,800. So much so we advocated yesterday, especially in the higher dollar, smaller fields, that you could play 2 tight end lineups. We had a legitimate tight end that could be a tight end 1 with upside of scoring 20 plus points, which is more than enough if it lets you fit a bunch of other stuff in there. And then Lamb over Pollard, and the Dak stack, you still get a piece of it, which we'll talk more on those in a little bit as well. Defense, who cares? You were on this one, Nades, actually, Broncos. And if you're not going to play Pacheco or anything, and you hear the news that Mahomes is ill, if you will, then there you go. $2,000 defense against. Talk to me about this one, Nades. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no. So obviously, I mean, this lineup isn't crazy because I was on all these plays outside of DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is obviously the only outlier in this game. Anytime a guy goes for almost 40 at 5,500, right? That whole situation there, new quarterback, all the things, right? I was never getting to there. Atlanta typically plays a slower paced game, right? Runs the football a lot, controls the pace. So that's the one outlier. But everyone else in this lineup, like I said, I had Gus Edwards in my core over on the site for multiple different reasons. Number one, his price, 5,500. Number two, the matchup, best matchup in the board, 4 running backs. We've seen it last year, right? Gus Bus gets in there 3 times. And I knew people were going to Lamar Jackson. And the reason I played Gus Edwards is in the same game, right? I was high on Jalen Hurts in the same game with the Howell. I was high on A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts. So in that same game, since I'm not spending up for Lamar Jackson, or you go to Gus Edwards. So that's kind of that. I know we'll talk on that a little bit. But the Sam Howell play, Sam Howell popped in our stuff over here as a value quarterback. All his weapons made sense and got there as well. So obviously you don't see him on a perfect lineup because when you got other value guys like Shaheed that goes off, you don't need Curtis Samuel or Dotson. And then you got these other guys. But overall, all these guys were getting played, just didn't put together. They all smashed. That's why a lot of people had great days. But that's where you see the 50-point gap from the perfect lineup to the lineup that actually won the Millie.
Yeah, and we'll go through it more when we get to the other stuff and see it back. But definitely, again, like I said, it's good to look at this to know. It doesn't mean what you're going to do. This is just what fit together to be the perfect score on the day. But it's always good to go back and look. And the one thing, like I said, I always just take away from it is the leverage. Like lots of people on Pollard, lots of people playing Kamara, lots of people playing Lamar, Purdy stacks with and without McCaffrey. But for the most part, he was expensive to get to. How do you do it? If you like Hurts, you could play Howell on the opposite side. And you mentioned it, Nays, just going to our stack rankings. Quick, show off some of our tools really fast here. This was yesterday, so the update, everything's always the same. We show this off, but the Dak Prescott stacks, which many were on, McBride, Brown, who won me the money in the end, was Brown. Pickett got injured, but Deontay had a good day, and Pickens got in the box. He's not listed here because it goes by value, but this tool has been very valuable, if you will, over
Connor Hayward did fine for his price.
He was still fine. look at some of these other spots here. Ingram had a pretty big day. I think he was 10 for 88, but just not going to be needed when Ferguson and the other guys, and obviously McBride just breaks the slate, but he's way up there too. And then the Howell, McLaurin, Samuel end up being Dotson, Thomas, things like that. But you can still, if you stick in here and then build stacks around this, definitely something to get after and something that you'd want to look at just so you see. Let's move on. Let's go to this. People wanted to see this quickly. So I will show this lineup. This was my 100K winner over on FanDuel. I think we have it here as well, just so you guys can see. Somebody asked if I play on FanDuel. This was it here, 188.08. I had 7 lineups in the $55. I think this showed up my whole day. I was in for 1162.50 on FanDuel, came out with 101,000 and change. So it was a good day, obviously. Very happy about that and thankful. You need a lot of things to go right for this to work. But going back to the lineup, if I can do this here, I'll show you guys. Fix this up, and then let me zoom this in. Zoom out. See what we can do here. I think you guys can see the majority of it. There you go. So Sam Howell, Dotson, Logan Thomas with the run back of Devontae Smith. So a 3-1 stack, not the common A.J. Brown. I like both of them, but we were saying there's a chance he gets hot here. We've been watching A.J. Brown. He stayed hot too. So really both of them. Then I had this allowed me to afford McCaffrey and Kamara, who I like both. And then the secondary stack was Gus Edwards as leverage to Lamar, like we talked about. And then I really like this. I talked about this one on the show quite a bit. Obviously, I could have got to McBride. I could have done things differently here. I'd still worked out, but I talked on the show, the Hollywood Brown revenge game. I did not expect to get lucky enough to win on a 1-yard touchdown to Marquise Brown. That's not usually how I envision him getting into the box, but I would have thought they would have ran it, the quarterback sneak, anything like that. But he ends up getting in on a 1-yard touchdown at the end after failed attempts too. So I kind of saw it slip through my hands. I was like, oh, he has a chance here. I was like, oh, that was the shot. But shout out to my guy Hamwich. I want to bring him up because just to show you guys the content, we left it up today so we could go through this and show you here. This is our NFL slate plan. We've talked about this plenty since the beginning of starting SHIPIT Nation, how we get people that position themselves in sports and sites that they play on so that you get someone who specializes in it. Obviously, you guys know with FanDuel, or many of you, if you're watching for the first time, the pricing and scoring is different on both sites. And that's the thing. Hamwich is focusing and finding perfect plays at their prices and also that he thinks can have upside. And one example was this. He talked with me last night about this. Appreciate him always supporting, but he said, listen, he goes, people are playing Zay Flowers. I get it on DraftKings. It's going to be, let's see if he gets 6 to 10 catches, gets the 100-yard bonus, PPR, whatever. But is he going to be like a 2-touchdown play on FanDuel? Could he be? Yes. Would he be less likely? Gus Edwards is a guy that you could actually see plug himself in there a few times. I didn't expect 3 either. And shout out to Drea. She said, you said it. I need a Hollywood TD. And that was at the very end of the last game. And then it happened 30 seconds later. Very thankful. Yes. Going back to it, though, real quickly here. Sam Howell, McLaurin, Dotson, and Thomas with these guys on the bring back. I ended up going with Sam Howell, Dotson, and Thomas with Devontae on the bring back. You go to his 4 running backs he listed. You can only play 3 on FanDuel. I played Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, and Gus Edwards. And you go down and look who fit in the last spot, a secondary stack. And this is the part I remembered that it reminded me of this, that I talked on the show about it. I like him versus his former team this week. Everyone's playing McBride. Everyone's playing other spots within that game. I thought, why not? So I plugged that in. And then he only puts 2 defenses in. It landed me on the Steelers. And you can go back here. Howell, Dotson, Thomas, run it back with Devontae Smith. 3 of the 4 running backs, McCaffrey, Kamara, Gus Edwards, landed me on the secondary stack with Gus Edwards, Marquise Brown, and then lands on Steelers defense. It was all right there within Hamwich's FanDuel plan. So it's available. And you say, anybody can put it. There's only 4 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and then 4 extra receivers that some of them overlap with the above. And it's just the way the lineup built out, 2D, 2 tight ends. So shout out to Hamwich. Really great content. I like to say, sort of that's what my thing is, being able to listen to others, find other people's stuff, and be able to go and piece it together. That's what I was trying to think like, take a lot of the things that we learn on this very show and apply them. So I definitely appreciate Ham putting that together. I know a lot of members had great success as well. Tyler, I'll go to you, man. Any thoughts on my lineup. You could say what you want about it, but I thought it was just for the type of tournament I'm in. I felt like this is kind of how you need to play. You need to be different.
No, I love your lineup. I have actually several very similar to this. The one thing is I wasn't getting up to McCaffrey in a lot of them because I was going with AJ Brown. I had one that did very well and was in first for a little while till that Arizona game just went nuts. But it was Howell and Dotson and Thomas, and then I had both AJ Brown and Smith in it.
Yeah.
Just, game stacking that game, knowing that if it's going to get there, that game is going to go totally nuts, which it did. But that didn't let me get up to McCaffrey, which my running backs ended up letting me down. But all in all, I really like your build here. You have the leverage with Edwards on all of those Lamar lineups that, he was super high owned. You have some chalk in Kamara, but he got there. I just like the build altogether. You have a lot of correlation and, it really fit together well. And getting up to McCaffrey in this lineup just made you even more different.
Yeah, and you need a lot of things to go your way. I'm not, doubting that,
Totally.
but I will say too, like a lot of people played Zay Flowers, McBride, and I've got Gus Edwards and Marquise Brown. A lot of people were picking between Kirk and Ridley and ETN, and some of them had good days. Even ETN had a great day, but you could still play a defense against that when you're not playing it, mixing and matching. I loved Hurts, but like you said, if you go the Hurts side of this, it's very unlikely you get Kamara, McCaffrey, and then your lineup just sort of falls apart. And we don't do a lot of FanDuel talk. So I appreciate Mama Rocks here. She says, so happy for you, Tambo. I appreciate that. She says, I sure do miss since you left. I've been at other sites in the past, obviously. Now check out your new gig. You can still do that today, NBA 10. Last day to use that code to get 10% off. But she says, your biggest positive is the way you drive to teaching more process and less play this or that. That's so key. Oftentimes people will make fun of it, say, oh, why don't you just give the guy the answer to the 1v1 question of this guy versus that guy? The answer is because typically what the lineup is what drives it. It's you want me to pick for you, I can tell you who I'm highest exposed to, but when it's Devontae Smith versus Christian Kirk, well, if it's a Howell or Hurts lineup, I'm more likely to have Devontae Smith in it. If it's a lineup that includes Pickett or Trevor Lawrence, I'm more likely to have Kirk in it. So the 1v1s are just they're not really helping you. And that's just the facts. And I try and help people as much as I possibly can. So I appreciate that from Mama Rocks. Andrea says we need more FanDuel talk. Yeah, one of the things I'll add, Nades, before I kick it to you, because I know you liked Gus Edwards yesterday. And people say, oh, but he got in the box 3 times. That's like Kamara got snaked twice by Taysom. You could flip it however you want. There was other ways, but the key on FanDuel is to look for touchdowns. And all these guys, like you can see when I'm like, I do this. This is an exercise you guys can apply this week upcoming or anything in Showdown. Count touchdowns. Can Hal get me 2+ touchdowns, 3 touchdowns? It's possible. He got 4. Can McCaffrey get me 2+ touchdowns? I think he could actually get me 3. Kamara, can he get me 2+? I've seen him score 5 before, so 2 is realistic. Can Devontae get in the box? It's been a rough go for him, but maybe we'll just take 1, and we got it, but it comes along with other stuff. Dotson, you're going to need to get lucky. Brown, at least these fit into the stacks, so it makes sense. Thomas, it's a onesie position. If I'm punting the tight end position, I like doing it with the quarterback stack, and then the defense is the defense. Gus Edwards can definitely get in the box a couple times. We've seen it plenty, so even 2. I know it wouldn't have won all the money, but it is to note, Nades, look for those touchdowns on FanDuel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, touchdowns on FanDuel are so key. Obviously, half-point PPR, big difference there. Touchdowns are the main difference. Whereas on DraftKings, right, a guy like Keenan Allen can go 12 for 110, get the 100-yard bonus and not score a touchdown and outscore a lot of guys like a George Pickens or like a guy that catches two 5-yard touchdowns, right? Keenan Allen's going to outscore those because of the bonus plus of the full-point receptions. So just little things like that to keep in mind. That's obviously why we have different people specializing in different things over at SHIPIT Nation. Hamwich, primarily FanDuel player, which, hey, look, everyone can say what they want about FanDuel and NFL and NBA aren't in particular. Their contests are very nice and they have very nice prize pools. I mean, anyone out there puts $1,000 in and gets out $101,000 is not going to complain. Same thing. I mean, they got great single entry contests for smaller stake players as well, especially for these 2 sports. So that's why we have different specializations for everyone. But in terms of this lineup, I love this lineup. One interesting note that I was just looking at is the Logan Thomas and Trey McBride talk with Hollywood Brown and a guy like Curtis Samuel. I mean, the 2v2 there is 11-9 versus 11-2. Obviously, your side was more expensive, but you knew, number one, you're not only leveraging other people on this site, but you're also leveraging people on DraftKings, right? You know, Trey McBride on DraftKings is going to be mega popular. Obviously, not quite as popular on FanDuel, but you're in that same range. So that's 2v2 there. I talked on the YouTube show that you guys did, right? I said Brown is taking the bus to Hollywood in the chat, and it just so happened that worked out. That was huge on Gus Edwards. So I love that Gus Edwards play there. I mean, he's getting over 50% of the 50% of the carries there, getting over 50% of the snaps. It's the best matchup on the slate, right? You're also leveraging the Zay Flowers. You're leveraging the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stacks. You're just leveraging the whole everything, and that's what this lineup is. That's what you do a great job of. You're also leveraging the AJ Brown. I know you were probably heavily invested in AJ Brown on DraftKings for sure. So hey, why not go to Devontae Smith? I don't have the salary. It allows me to get up to a guy like McCaffrey, where people are playing the Ayuks, the Brock Purdy's, the George Kittle, who, by the way, George Kittle did obviously have a very good game as well. But just overall, everything just makes a ton of sense, and it's just little things that you can look and you can be results oriented, but it's the theory behind it, right? Why Logan Thomas over Trey McBride in this build? Well, it gets me off of Curtis Samuel, who more people are going to play because of the hollow stack, gets me to a flop leg revenge spot, right? With Marquise Brown at a price point, which, hey, why not the Hollywood show? Things like that. It's already correlated. So overall, amazing build.
And you're the man when it comes to DVP. I know you guys at LineStar have tools like this as well, so you guys can mix and match both sites for really just getting the matchup stuff figured out. Like I'm not a big cornerbacks versus this guy matchup. Like, oh, Tyreek Hill is going to be stopped this week because Surtain is on him. Like, I really don't care about that, but I do look a little bit at some heavy duty stuff when it comes to it. Like this, like Philly literally just stuffs the run all day long. The only chance to get it, but look, quarterback, Sam Howell, wide receivers, even tight end, they're middle of the pack. So it's like if Thomas just fits the stack, can Dotson beat them? Yes, on the other side, pretty obvious that guys like A.J. Brown, why they were going to have big days. Devontae Smith fits into that as well. Washington, really bad against the receiver. Kamara, perfect matchup against Indy, going up as a running back. Who's the other one? Cincy. They're worse versus the tight end, but they're not good against the run. And then you get a guy like, you got to add bullets to this and points to this when it's CMC that's going to be going up against them. What else? Arizona. Boom, Gus, like look at this spot, just smash. Anybody can smash Arizona. I'm just saying it's the same sort of thing. And then Baltimore doesn't give up too much, but if they were going to give it up, it's going to be to running back or wide receiver. Hollywood, little bit of that revenge in there that you can see. Jacksonville, worst against the D. We had the Steelers D in there. So it's all, again, you can use the tools. It's right here, DVP rankings, apply it, mix it with the slate plan, mix it with the stack rankings, put it all together. There's lots of ways. And super chat. You didn't have to give us anything, but we'll use this. We say we use this money to upgrade Title's internet, but it says this could be Travis, the man. Shout out to the projections team at SHIPIT Nation. I'm 100,000 richer after my first week joining. You guys are game changers. Shout out to Could Be Travis. I know he had a huge day yesterday. I think we had it saved in here, man. I can't keep track. There's a bunch of them, but either way,
shout out
to Could Be. Yeah. It was nuts yesterday. It might be this one. There he is. Travis Scott at Could Be Travis. My homie ToeTagginTambo and SHIPIT Nation got the job done. You'll notice just up there, three little bullets that he had in there. He said, you don't need 150 to ship that puppy. 100,000 up top. And that was just some of them, right? This was our guy, 18 into 80K, $200 into 9K, 5K for Wally Boa. This was the same guy that won the 80K, my 100K. Excuse the language.
Talk about the Millie.
Joe. What's that?
Yeah, let's also talk about the Millie. I remember taking second in the Millie with a single bullet, right? So, like, it just goes.
That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. BM 900 got second to Jasper J. We're about to review that, but just a couple more, not to brag, just to say thank you. Got that year-long membership. Guess that year-long membership I got last week is covered, so he signed up for the annual. And then OG Joe's was over 22, like 26,000 or something. I forget what it was, $600 into the difference there. So just a huge week for ShipItNation.com. If you guys want to join, go now. Use promo code NBA10. Get 10% off any plan. That ends today. Let's hop over and look at our guy BM. So Jasper J, we'll look at first. But, after that, we'll go to our member, BM900, _900. Let's look at this one, Nades. We got Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup. I don't see any run back, right? We got Kamara, Breece Hall, just made sense. A.J. Brown, McBride. The Hopkins play will do it. And then Seattle D. But outside of the Hopkins play, a lot of these plays were places people were going, right, Nades? Like, you talk about this, but you were in on the Dak stack for sure. A lot of people were.
Yep.
Give us your thoughts on the winning lineup from Jasper J.
Yeah, no. So the first thing that I'm looking at, let me just pull up these salaries on these Rams real quick to make my point here. So yeah, right here is a perfect example, right? Cooper Kupp, obviously $9K. You can't afford him when you're going to a guy like CeeDee Lamb in the stack, right? And Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, right? You wanted the two spend up running backs, Breece Hall. Obviously, everybody was in on Breece Hall. Best matchup on the board. Everything pointed to him. Alvin Kamara, Captain King, check down, right? With Carr there, Kamara even getting vultured. I mean, this guy's just a cheat code. We knew this for many times. So those two plays make a lot of sense. Everyone was kind of in on them. That's why the ownership is there. But this A.J. Brown play, he's $100 more than Puka Nacua, right? Which we talked about. You guys talked about skinny stacks so much on that early slate, or not even skinny stacks, but just not forcing a run back. The Rams, right? Guess who's $7,900, $100 cheaper than A.J. Brown? Puka Nacua, right? Just coming off 26-point game last week. It's always, is it Kupp? Is it Puka? Well, in this lineup, you could have easily, over A.J. Brown, put Puka Nacua in there. Yeah, results oriented, it wouldn't have got there. But from a lineup perspective sense, this is the things that you can look at, right? A.J. Brown, why run it back when you already know so many people force in their optimizer, right? Game stacks, run back, especially when you're double stacking a quarterback. So that's just one way to get unique. Yeah, I get it. A.J. Brown, right? 22% owned almost. But in a correlation stack like this, when you're stacking Dak Prescott at that price point, many more teams are going to have a Puka Nacua or a Rams piece in there than the one-off A.J. Brown, right? Who can rack up the catches, rack up the volume. He's crushed every week so far this season. He's the guy in Philly, right? So that's one interesting point there. Obviously, the Trey McBride play there. Congratulations to him getting there late, but everyone knew, right? That was the best play on the slate. No Zach Ertz there. He's all the metrics, right, are leading to he's getting the most targets per routes run on the entire team, everything like that. $2,800, $300 over min price makes sense. The Seattle defense, I know a lot of people I was on both sides of that game in terms of defense, Cleveland and Seattle. Just figured it was going to be kind of a gross game. Cleveland defense obviously was a little bit cheaper. So just going to the other side of the game where, people are going to go to because people were playing Cleveland defense there. You talk about that a lot, kind of like the Minnesota Green Bay game. People were going to that. And the Kansas City Denver game was the same thing, right? People want to pay up for the Chiefs game, go to the Denver. But overall, excellent build. The CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, Dak Prescott was actually our number one offense stack on our stack rankings. Obviously, we had Jake Ferguson in there and we didn't have CeeDee Lamb, but that comes down to salary and value rankings. But I know I was heavily involved in this. Hoop was heavily involved with this, and our members were heavily involved with this. It blew our stack rankings away, almost 20 points better in terms of value rankings on our slate. Was that Dallas stack. So overall, excellent build. And the piece that really stood out to me was not bringing a Rams piece in a double stack like a Puka Nacua, who you could have easily fit. Would have costed him $1 million if he did that.
Yeah, I like that call. I'm going to talk about it in a second. Let Tyler go too. But just quick too, this was our core report yesterday, GPP core report. Hoop got there real early. Dak, Breece Hall, Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson. You go down to title. He had Dak, Breece Hall, Lamb. Gallup did not get there, but still showed up in that lineup. Hawkinson got in the box. Hamwich was on the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Dotson, Devontae. And then Barkley still, like he said, got the touches. People were noticing that. Didn't come through fully on the winning lineups, but just to say it, he was getting the touches and the work. And then G. Risen had Dak, Kamara, Ferguson, guys that didn't work out. So just to show it off, a lot of people were all over it over at SHIPITNation.com. And then I like what Nate said here, Tyler, where oftentimes you just force the run back, but it would have been a lot different story. And A.J. Brown can still get there. And other thing too, you can get away with missing on something, right? Like Gallup did not get there, but it still allowed for all the other stuff you needed to get there. And then it's the same when you go back to my lineup. All the day's done. No Dallas, no money. What do you mean? Zero Dallas in this line. Just, you know what I mean? It can happen still. It's not ideal when it starts off like that, but it can still happen. So that's the early tilting that we talk about all the time. It's fun. There's good jokes around it, things like that, but you're not always dead. This, they could be thinking Lamb didn't come through, Gallup didn't come through. I get all this Lamb, I get Hopkins, but my guy Gallup didn't come through, and you still end up being fine and winning the $1 million. So go ahead, Tyler, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, one of the things I want to harp on here is using your stack to get different. Dallas, super low owned, and then he just pounded all the chalk pretty much outside of DeAndre Hopkins. So it's the way he got different was using that stack. And then, the chalk running backs, like, they were chalked for a reason. They were very, very good plays. And so essentially the way he got different was just using Prescott and using CD Gallup combo. Very few people in this Millie had that combo, had those three together. And so with that, it just set him apart from all of those chalky lineups that had Kamara, had Hall, had McBride. And so I thought it was a really good lineup build. AJ Brown has just been absolutely crushing all year. So, that was another chalky piece that just made sense.
Yeah, definitely a great lineup in that sense where you said, like, once you just put the pieces in. I remember who posted yesterday and someone said, oh, those were obvious plays. Were they? Like 6%, 5%, 7%. Ferguson was a little like, people just get so worked up by it no matter what and think like you're playing chalk just because they did good. Well, everyone knew Dak was good. Well, if everyone did, then why didn't everyone play it? Why didn't everyone have a bunch of CD Lamb and only 5% of the entire field tried to play him? Like everyone was playing Pollard, myself included. So it's like, it's like you said, Tyler, perfect way of putting it. Once you're already that different, get away with Kamara, get away with Hall. Much like we always say, even AJ Brown, much like we always talk about comparing football to MLB, is in MLB, typically the pitcher chalk is the better place to go. The bats, anything can happen. We can see Mike Trout go 0 for 5. Ohtani can go 5 for 5 and smash it. Like it just different stuff. Anything can happen on any given game. But typically we know what these workloads look like, or we know what the injury situations might be. What does that price tag mean versus the workload they've been getting and everything that goes with it? Anything can change at any time, but in general, definitely something to keep in mind that once you're different in a few places, and even if you thought like, okay, it's a bit chalky, you plug in Hopkins down here. Like, you know what I mean? You're still getting different in certain spots. So I don't hate this at all. Let's move on. Let's go to I think he's in there. I think this is him. Ben Mayhook. Shout out to you. Congrats. Said, hello. Pretty mad to be having my lineup about to be reviewed. Maybe because it's 900K light. I'm not sure that's why you'd be mad, but still a great run at it. It said was probably the first time this year I wasn't constantly tinkering right before lock. So going to be my main learning going forward. Yeah, maybe you could have tinkered off 100K and not even had a shot. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. I don't like to tinker too much unless we get late news. We've been talking a lot about that in our Discord lately around NBA stuff. Where people are, do I have to do this every game? Do I have to do that? I mean, there's a couple different camps, but definitely one would be if there's major news, good idea to have a look. And same in football. If there's major news that comes out in the morning that makes you want to do it. Otherwise, a lot of times you're just saying, I'm going to change this guy to that guy because of this, or I heard this. And you know what I mean? Too many things go on in one place. But another Dak lineup here. So here it is, Nades. Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Gus Edwards, A.J. Brown, Addison with the Minnesota defense, Trey McBride, and Calvin Ridley in this lineup. Give me your thoughts on this one, Nades. What do we got?
Yeah, so love the number one Dak, and the whole skinny stack thing makes a ton of sense, right? CD, obviously the guy there, you're leveraging the Pollard ownership, everything pointed there. I love the Gus Edwards play. I was high on it like I said, it was in my core there, but it's also a way to middle that ownership down a little bit with Trey McBride, right? Trey McBride, you knew was going to be a chalky tight end, chalkiest value tight end on the slate. A lot of him was going to be to get up to those Dak stacks, right? Those Dak, Zay Flowers stacks. So you're already off of those. You throw Gus Edwards in, you still get a piece of that side. And then you got Trey McBride on the run back. The Jordan Addison play, right? Sub 6K for a wide receiver number one with no Justin Jefferson in there in a game where Minnesota can't run the ball, right? Obviously Cam Akers got his first touchdown in however long, right? But Minnesota's a pass first offense, right? Hockenson and Addison are their two guys there. So sub 6K for him in a game where I expect them to pass a lot. I like that play. The Calvin Ridley play was interesting. I know you brought it up a lot, right? Everyone wanted to go to Christian Kirk, who's $100 more. Mind you, Christian Kirk was at his highest price point of the entire season. Calvin Ridley was at his lowest price point of the entire season. We were paying over $7K for this guy earlier this year, and he's I mean, he's still there. He's still getting almost 8 targets a game on average throughout the year. So Calvin Ridley played great play. Minnesota defense, I know a lot of people were on them. That's why their ownership was there. 2,500 against mistake-prone Jordan Love there. Just made a lot of sense in a game where expected to be kind of slower, divisional pace game. Typically is where I like to see defenses more. So overall, amazing build. And same thing, not forcing a run back there. Could have easily went to Puka Nacua right there instead of AJ Brown, and would have definitely not made $100,000. So.
Yeah, and we just saw on the Line Star app earlier, Tyler pointed out that you could see some of the summary stuff of the perfect lineups. This is obviously our preferred tool when it comes to that, but we also talk about this, Tyler, right? We're like, RB DST, we don't even care about. Like it's worked and something, but if it happens, it happens. Low owned player though, getting like, when you got 7, 5, 5, and 6, it's close enough. This is classifying under 5%. So still really low total ownership. Overall, a good product ownership, 49.9 as far as salary usage. You see Guz with McBride. It does kind of fit what you said too, Tyler. Like you can put the stack that nobody's really on, then you can get away with Breece Hall and AJ Brown and Trey McBride. But how do you'll limit some of the Trey McBride ownership? Play Guz on the opposite side, and you got a 5% guy mixed with Trey McBride, where it actually would and should correlate. And yesterday played out just like we wanted it to. Guz gets all the touchdowns on the ground. Trey McBride picks it all up late, especially even throughout, but definitely late too, of when they're making the comeback. So that's why you do those secondary stacks. A one-off of a wide receiver in the flex is fine, and Ridley at that. So I thought that was pretty good. And then Minnesota D, Jordan Addison just sort of fit in as, again, 2 mid-tier price play or mid-tier prices, mid-tier chalk, like nothing too serious. So your thoughts on this lineup? This is one of our members, BM_900, Ben Mayhook, here in chat.
Yeah, there's 2 main leverage pieces here that we haven't even talked about too. Tony Pollard was super chalky. So you go Dak and CD, and you're crushing all those Pollard lineups if CD goes nuts. And then with Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson was super popular. So you're crushing those lineups if he gets going. So not only is the stack the way to get different, the stack plus Gus Edwards, just took out a ton of the field and made, his lineups kind of pop. So all in all, I think it was a great lineup.
Yeah, I want to see really quickly here just to see.
Yeah, so Tony Pollard was 10% owned, but Lamar Jackson was 18% for the Millie Maker, which that's heavy ownership. Usually we don't see like 10 to 12%, right? So almost pushing 20% in this big of a field was massive chalk.
Yeah, Lamar was almost 18%. So like getting Guz at 5%, just huge leverage. Tony didn't get up as high, but definitely a main factor when you're already cutting that in half on both guys on the other 2 and stacking it up with Lamb. And then you go look here too, like just all the ownership up on these guys, and then Lamb down at 5% or whatever he was. I think he was 5.
So I want to hit on another piece too, right? Is that Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, 5,600. If you go back to the lineup, guess who's right at that 5,600 price point? Not 1, but 2. Both Calvin Ridley and Jordan Addison are right there, right? 5,800, 5,700. Everyone, right? You already got Gus Edwards in that run back. A lot of people are playing maybe a secondary, right? The chalky stack, Zay Flowers, Trey McBride was a very, very popular secondary correlation. You're not playing Zay Flowers, throw in a wide receiver 1 in Calvin Ridley or Jordan Addison at that same price point, and play Gus Edwards at also a very similar price point at 5,500. So things like that too is what I look for. And that's just a little thing that goes mistaken, right? It's not a direct position for position in terms of a leverage, right? At the same salary title or Tambo, you talk about that all the time, right? If it's not the 3K tight end, well, maybe it's the $3,300 receiver that's in a good spot, right? Or same thing. So that's something that I looked at and just stood out to me right there as well.
Yeah, and just to look at some of the exposure. So Jasper J, the winner, had Breece Hall 90% almost, 74% Kamara, 51% Lamb, 50% Dak. You can go by position. So a ton of Dak and then spread it out a little bit. Ton of Breece Hall, Kamara, Mostert, ton of Lamb. London was a big play for them as well. Nico Collins, Adam Thielen at 6,600 makes sense. Logan Thomas, speaking of my guy, Logan Thomas, 3,400 in there. So that makes sense. Probably a lot of secondary stacks too with AJ Brown at 25% ownership, and you could use Thomas on the way back. And then let's see what they did at defense. Minnesota defense, and spread it out after. See some of the other people that played 150 right quick, just to see more spread out at quarterback. RIP to Kirk Cousins and his Achilles heel. That sucks. Fantasy Guru Drew, excellent player over at FTN. He had a pretty big day, close run at the Millie. I saw the 555, and then here he crushed it as well. So heavy on Dak. Everyone, like, if you were heavy on this, I won't start the Damian Pierce Singletary conversation, Nades. I'll let that one go for today. But I was just trying to get something rolling in our Discord. Nades really liked him, and I said that, oh no. I said that can't be the case. Worst play on the slate. I got Nades all fired up. But like you said, splitting the work, definitely something. Addison, Lamb, McLaurin. Who else here? My buddy Hibes. He had a good day. He had 81% Burrow. Wow. Bijan, 94%. So that really imagine getting this right. 82% Gus, but 94%. Bijan was not horrible, by the way. Just something, the underpriced T. Higgins spot. Not playing. Let's go back to his running backs. Does he have any Kamara? Looks like no, but look at this. This is another thing. Again, these are higher risk plays. Hive's an incredible player, all sports. Just to note, name's Chris, good guy. He look at all the Olave, 88.6.
Because he's not playing tomorrow. Kamara. That's why.
Zero fear. No, but I mean, like, not only, this is what I'm saying. Listen, we will always ask these questions about, oh, how many guys do I get in my pool and where do I go with that and all of this. He played 49 guys on 150 lineups. He had 148 unique lineups, so he's pretty much almost all unique. And then the note would be that he had it set up where instead of just fading Kamara and being okay with that, he just completely almost goes all in on Olave. So, like, that's the ultimate leverage point if you can find that. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, this is one way to look at it. Was there anything else there that you guys have with this one that you wanted to look at?
No, I think overall great build. Congratulations, single bullet into 100K. Don't really know why you'd be mad at reviewing that, but obviously when you fall 4 or 5 points shy of $900,000 in your pocket, definitely stings a little bit. Like to get blown out, but hey, I can't be mad about that. $9 into 100,000 is definitely good, and congratulations.
Tyler, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good with that one.
All right, one real quick thing then we'll get out of here at the end. But just to
Hold
show
on, I want to hit on this right here. I want to hit on this. Ben, our guy, just talked about it, right? Rams bringbacks are so expensive. I didn't quite get there. I think I had Nakua in a draft version of it at some point instead of Addison, but didn't love it. That's exactly right? So, like, that's the whole point of everyone over the last couple of years, right? It originally, right? We have to adapt our process as the field adapts, right? For a while, right? It was always people weren't running it back, and we saw that winning week in and week out. Now people are getting sharper. Pricing is getting different, right? There's underpriced players here due to whatever scenarios, right? Whether they're getting into different opportunities, teams are going different ways, you got injuries, things like that. And people still haven't fully adjusted to not forcing run backs and things like that where it makes sense. Obviously, there's situations where forcing a run back makes sense. But in this situation like that, when you have Puka Nacua, who is it? Is it Kupp or is it Nakua? Yeah, it could be both of them. But in a game against a Dallas defense who is very good, and at their price point, 7,900 and 9K, it just didn't make sense when you got a guy like AJ Brown in a very good game environment at the same price point. So, like, just things like that is definitely something to keep in mind. And you always have to hone your process in and continue to adapt. Otherwise, you're just going to get lapped by the field.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a great point. And that's Ben Mayhook is BM_900, who won the 100K, came second in the Millie. So shout out to you. Appreciate you joining us, reviewing that lineup and going through it. I'm going to do one last thing because people always want to see what my core lineup was up on the site. I can go back and share it. This is just to show you guys. But I had Pickett, Kamara, Hall, Pickens, and Ingram. And then you go back here and you'll see the lineup I played. It wasn't a great day. I had 3 tickets into this. I added 5. Out of pocket, ended up losing 1,700. This is the 555 Millie Maker, and obviously made up for it on FanDuel and other places. The King of the Beach ticket last night was a good day, but just to say it, this was not my best tournament, but just to show the lineup, people always want to know, did you play it? Did you put the money on? Like, of course, Pickett, Pickens, Deontay, and then you ran it back with just Ingram. Then I played the chalk, Kamara, Breece Hall. I did a secondary stack of Tyreek and Kendrick Bourne. And then I had the Minnesota D is kind of where I landed, and I liked them yesterday. I had them wrote up as well. So Tyler, I'll go to you on this one. This did not turn out well. Pickett's injury wouldn't have mattered probably. He wasn't playing great football in the first half anyway. But just to say, like, I don't mind this. And this was only a play on, like, you need these guys, you need Tyreek. And then if these guys, that means him. And so you're going to get a good score out of that if that happens. It did not work out. Still put out almost 150, but needed a whole lot more. Was not my best lineup. Either way, give your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is another version of what I was saying as far as you can pick a stack to get you different and then slam some chalk in there. And that's exactly what you did. You got different and you picked a game that projected as possibly one of the faster games in for the week. So, more plays means more fantasy points. There was a path to its success, and Kenny Pickett being so cheap, made some sense. It's just that Jacksonville D has been a little bit better than most figured it would be this year.
Yeah, same things. The chat just mentioned Scary Creations. He had a good team yesterday too. He pasted in a Purdy team, but yeah, said some of the Strouds, like the Houston-Carolina game looked good too. This was a game that looked good. It just didn't fully work out, obviously, at all. But just to say it, that was definitely something. Nades, any thoughts on that one? I'm just going to pull up and see who won it. Cloths of Heaven won it. But any other ads for that one, Nades? Anything else you wanted to mention there?
No, I think that was definitely a good build. Obviously didn't get there, but you got there in other spots, which is definitely good. If you could jump to the 33, I just want to talk because I know you mentioned the 2 tight end thing quite a bit. And my main lineup, my core lineup that I posted in the Discord was actually a 2 tight end build. And it's right there, right? The Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert with the run back of Terry McLaurin, right? Super underpriced for his talent, everything like that. It had the Gus Edwards play on, which I was obviously high on. I liked the Javonte Williams play. He got 53% of the snaps last week and almost 50% of the carries. And he was $5,200 in a game that was expected to be, right, the snow game and, oh my God, snow, crazy, all that thing. And I paired it with the $2,000 min price defense, which Patty Mahomes can make mistakes. I figured it was going to be an uglier game. Javonte Williams can get there. So I like that secondary correlation. It was also different than the chalk route. So overall, that's kind of where I landed. And then the Kittle and Jamar Chase secondary stack, I liked quite a bit. So that's where this is an example of 2 tight end build. Obviously didn't get all the way home, but you can argue George Kittle is arguably in this spot, wide receiver 1, right? Him and Ayuk, and he's 5,400. Dallas Goedert, wide receiver 1, 2, whatever. Him, Smith, and AJ Brown, he's 4,600. So you can look at these guys as wide receivers. They're not standard tight ends, and they're sub 6K. So that's just one way to get different and you're unique for sure.
Yeah, and your DVP stuff too, which you look at a lot. Obviously, we showed earlier, San Francisco, the best chance for them was going with the tight end, who with no Debo at 5,400 is basically you're getting a wide receiver 1. So it's not that much different than, let's say our guy BM 900. We're not rubbing it in. I'm just saying, he literally could have left the money on the table and played Kittle over Ridley. And I think that's the difference in the top prize. And if you're playing a wide receiver in the flex already, just an example where this is completely results oriented. You definitely had an amazing lineup. Just saying, just to look at it, you do have to think of this as a wide receiver 1 in this spot. So it's more than fine if both of these guys can definitely put up 20 to 25 points and it's nothing crazy. I like the 2 tight end builds yesterday better that we're using McBride to their advantage to try and pump up some spots and not again, you have all really good plays in here. So it's not like you would have pumped up much, but whatever around 6,900 or plus type running back could be here if you brought one of these guys down or a little less if you brought Goddard down, but then you still need, I'm thinking Nade's nothing you did wrong. I'm just saying when we're looking back at it, what could we change? If Jamar has a big game, it's probably more likely that Purdy or Burrow ends up here. So make this AJ Brown, similar ownership, then move Kittle up, play McBride, and then you can probably bump Javonte into Breece Hall or something like that, right? Again, your lineup makes perfect sense. This line, I'm just saying ways to look at it differently and think about it. That's how I would do it. So Tyler, any thoughts from you on this one? Any final thoughts on the review show in general before we get out of here?
Lineup wise, I mean, it's a solid build. Just didn't quite get there today. And as far as the review show, I just want to say a great job to all the SHIPIT Nation. You guys went nuts yesterday. I was close, but that Arizona game and the McBride just took me out of it.
Yes, like I said at the top, some of these people watching or people wondering when us, like, we don't know. If there was a guaranteed program, I'd be in it too. Like, I would love to win every weekend. It's just, you got to wait your turn. And there's variance that goes against you in all ways, shapes, and forms. I needed to get a Marquise Brown 1-yard touchdown at the very end of the game yesterday to make it happen. So it's like anything can happen. You don't know when your time is going to be, but what you do want to do is join the community. Nades is going to talk in a sec, his final thoughts, go through it. But the key to us is it's helping you become a better player for yourself, not just follow Hoop, myself, the rest of our team, Nades, all the other stuff we showed you today. That's helpful to give you a guideline. You still have to go and put it together and then know how to replicate it so that you can put yourself in that position more often than not. And the key to the community is it's filled with like-minded individuals, similar goals and mindsets of people actually talking through it. And I compared it, Nades, to a gym. Basically what I was saying, I was talking to Hoop earlier, just someone gave me this idea, but it's like you go to the gym, right? You got the same machines, the weights, there's personal trainers, all this stuff, a membership gym that you go to, but you pay extra for the personal trainers. Nobody wants to talk to you. They all just want to do their own thing, get in, get out. And it can be intimidating because some people are really in shape and some are not. So that's the opposite of SHIPIT Nation. Like when you come in, it's one price to get in the door, kind of the same. Meaning, though, that you're not paying extra for any personal trainers. Not only do you have people that play the game full time and do well at it that will help you out anytime you need, but you also have people there that have been playing for longer than you and are better at this game, willing to jump in, support you, help you make decisions, give you ideas and thoughts to become a better process player so you can make this thing replicate this thing, make it repeatable. And then on top of it, we all have the same machines and exercise bikes and all that. It's the tools, the rankings, the projections, all that. You get access to them, but it's not intimidating because everybody's there to support you and do it there with you. So really very similar in that aspect. It's a great spot to be if you guys want to check it out. Say it for the last time, but you can go over, check it out. Today is the last day to use code NBA10. After this, it'll just go back to our standard pricing, but the 6-month and the annual, you can get for like 55 to 40 to 55 bucks a month, give or take, for those plans and just get locked in. So check it out. This is the time now. ShipItNation.com. Use that promo code. Nades, final thoughts from you before we get out of here.
No, amazing week. We have you covered. I know you, Hoop and Title are going to be on the Mayo Media Network breaking down the Showdown game tonight for NFL. We got NHL tonight. We got NBA tonight. Busy day over here at the Nation. Busy day for all of us, but we do it for you guys. We do it. We love all your support. And if you're not a member, definitely the time is now because that promo code is going away. You see all the screenshots, and it's not just 150 maxers or us as coordinators winning money. It's our members that are just signing up. Right, winning $100,000 in a week. Not to say that, hey, you're going to sign up, you're going to instantly win. But if you put in the process, you put in the time, you really dive in, read the tutorials, watch the courses, the education videos, things like that. More chances than not, you're going to be in a position to have a big day.
Yeah, I agree 100%. If you guys want to check out LineStar, don't forget about them. Go to linestarapp.com. Use the promo code SHIPIT. Get on the action over there. Pair it up together. It's a great complimentary piece. And then we've got their ownership projections on our site that feed into the solver and all of our other partnerships as well. So appreciate you guys watching. That's going to do it for this one. For Tyler, thanks so much coming on from LineStar. For Nades, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.